locked in at the moment. The 8-2 Seattle Seahawks, the 8-3 Minnesota Vikings, the NFC East leading Dallas Cowboys. They've played the Patriots 5 times recently. The Patriots have won all 5 of those games. They're good against everybody, and that's why Jason Garrett had this to say about a pretty good coach and a pretty good quarterback.
He's arguably the greatest player that ever walked. You think about his level of excellence over the last 20 years. I don't think it's comparable to anybody. The impact he's had on teams, obviously how they've won different ways, how they've won with different people. I think his greatest trait is his mental toughness. It seems regardless of what circumstance he's in, he always finds a way to be his best and get the job done and help the guys around him to get their job done. And he and Coach Belichick are an unbelievable combination, the best that ever walked in this league.
Let's get down to Frisco, Texas. That's where our Jane Slater is to say good afternoon to Jane. And looking at the Cowboys these past few weeks, you see Amari Cooper on the field making great catches. Then he's working something out, limping sometimes. What's his status going to be for Sunday?
Well, he has been playing through so many injuries. We've been talking about this in the last couple of weeks. And, he was limited in practice last week, and then he was in on only about half the snaps against Detroit. This week, we saw him at practice on Wednesday. Now, head coach Jason Garrett seemed to imply that he would be a bit limited today. We saw him going through some of his normal drills, but he certainly wasn't going full speed. But when you consider the challenge of going up to Foxborough, and as Jason Garrett just told you, one of the best to do it. They're facing this 9-1 team, a guy like Tom Brady and a coach like Bill Belichick. When you look at this Cowboys offense, they are number 1 right now in terms of total yards. The Patriots defense, number 1 as well. So this really is a clash of 2 titans. But in order to give the Cowboys their best chance possible, you're going to need all weapons on offense, and that includes Amari Cooper. So we'll keep an eye on him this week and let you know how he's doing.
And looking, Jane, out at the landscape this week, a lot of people have been looking back to 10 years ago and posting pictures. When Jerry Jones looks back into the past, he kind of does it differently than anybody else because he can. He's got all kinds of stories, and one of them was about perhaps the one that got away. What was that?
I don't know why Jerry Jones does this to the fans, Patrick. It was one of my favorite stories that came out this week. Jerry was talking to 105.3 The Fan, and he relayed a story in the early 1990s when he was skiing, and there was Bill Belichick behind him in the ski line, and this was right after he'd gotten fired by the Browns, and they were getting ready to relocate to the Ravens. And he told Jerry Jones, "I believe I can coach. If you get the chance, come and get me." Now, Jerry says that's a story he thinks about from time to time, but also said that he was using it to illustrate that you can find a coach anywhere sometimes. But for Cowboy fans, when you consider what the trajectory in Dallas could have been, that is a Patriots team that has won 6 Super Bowls since. The Cowboys have yet to go back.
So that's it. 0-2, Bill Belichick and Earl Thomas on Come Get Me with the Dallas Cowboys. It did not work at any point. So just, things that could have been. Jane Slater, live in Frisco. Thanks, Jane. The Patriots, they're coming off that win on the road over an Eagles team that's really had some problems moving the ball at times this season. Not so for this week's opponent. The Dallas Cowboys lead the NFL in total offensive yardage, and Bill Belichick has a lot of respect, just a lot of respect for everything they do.
It's the same every week. You prepare for what you prepare for, and then what you get in the game. Just like Eisenhower said, preparation's important for the war. Once a battle starts, you just throw it all out the window. You play the war, you fight the battle. So that's what we do. Once a game starts, we try to figure out how the game's going, make adjustments, do the best we can at that point in time.
So let's get back to Foxborough. That's where our Mike Giardi is. Spending some time with Bill Belichick and company today. We heard what he had to say about the team. What's he saying about Dallas' starting quarterback, Mike?
First of all, Patrick, this was vintage Bill Belichick, maybe the best press conference of the year. He had it all today. He had zingers. He's quoting Eisenhower there. I mean, he was all over the place. But when it came to Dak Prescott, he said he can't imagine anybody playing the quarterback position any better than Dak is right now. And, of course, he just faced Lamar Jackson a few weeks ago, and Lamar tore him up pretty good. But he made the point that Dak is making all the throws, in cuts, out cuts, sideline, post, whatever needs to be done. Then never mind the fact that he can beat you with his legs as well. He says that's just another rock on a big pile of rocks when it comes to dealing with this Cowboy offense. But a ton of respect for Dak Prescott, and not a guy that they've had the opportunity to play against. So they're having to do some deep work here on Prescott, who clearly, and I know Jane Slater has talked about this quite a bit, as is our analyst in the studio, he has made the leap this year, and he has become the player that is going to be worthy of a massive contract in the offseason, or certainly the franchise tag. And one of the things Belichick pointed at too, Patrick, third downs. There isn't a better quarterback on third downs right now. Almost 10 yards per attempt on third downs for Dak Prescott. He's just been amazing this year, taking it to that next place.
Yeah, and he's doing it as one of the lowest paid starting quarterbacks in the NFL again, as he has been. For some time. We'll see if that eventually changes. And not to discredit their pile of rocks that Bill Belichick was talking about, but the Patriots have a pretty good pile of rocks on defense as well, and they're going up against a good offense. What's going to give here, Mike?
Well, it's very interesting when you kind of crunch the numbers a little bit. The Cowboys are second ranked in big plays for the offense. They average 8.4 big plays per game, which we define at the NFL as passes over 20 yards and runs of 10 or more. The Patriots, on the other hand, allow about 4 of those per game, and they're second best in that category. So sort of what's going to give there? And I asked Belichick today if there are any common denominators in the Cowboys' big plays. He's like, no. He's like, great quarterback. 5 receivers that they throw it to. Zeke, they're making plays off breakdowns. They're making plays because they just beat you, flat out beat you. He said it's just one of those things where, our defense is going to be stressed and challenged. He said, but look, you can't play defense with just one guy. All 11 have to play together. And he says, when you look at the Patriots' numbers against defending the big plays, that's really what comes to. He said guys are being able to lean on each other and handle their business, and then you're not getting the plays over the top of you that can be game breakers. And just to give you another example, you were mentioning the Patriots offense. They're 20th in the league in big plays. They're around 60, whereas the Cowboys are up around 84. So Patriots offense not there yet. The Cowboys offense certainly there in full force.
Yeah, that Patriots defense plays 61% of their snaps in man coverage. We'll see how healthy Amari Cooper is and where they put Stephon Gilmore. A lot to look at in this game. Mike Giardi there live in Foxborough. Thanks, man. We heard Bill Belichick. Let's get some more coach speak. Let's get it from another Super Bowl champion coach. The road for the Eagles doesn't get easier. They had some issues against the Patriots defense, which everybody does, except for the Ravens. They play the Seahawks this week. The numbers haven't been good, but they've been opportunistic, 4th in the league in takeaways.
The thing is with Russell, he can beat you from the pocket, and he can beat you from out of the pocket. And so from a defensive standpoint, try to limit those, corral him the best you can, try to limit the out of the pocket stuff. But when he does, we got to do a great job of trying to, again, limit the yards gained and or the explosive plays, where a lot of explosive plays come from.
The Jags came back from the bye with a loss to Indy, but before that, before the break, Doug Marrone let everybody know Nick Foles would have the starting job back. He's sticking with them. He says that, there were problems for everybody on the Jags offense in that loss.
Yeah, I thought a little bit of a wave. I think everyone, obviously, you don't win a game, everyone has to play better. But I thought, there was a point early on where I thought he got a little hot, and then all of a sudden we started, forcing some things, or there was a little bit of pressure. And just instead of taking what the defense gave you, trying to make plays, and then, settling down near the end and getting those plays in at the end, I think is really going to help.
The best game of the year for Bills quarterback Josh Allen. He's gone 5 straight games without an interception, and now he goes up against the Broncos team. And, this is what head coach Sean McDermott had to say about the Denver Broncos, and perhaps a little shot at Joe Flacco here.
Explosive offense in that regard. They've got the backfield, the runners back there, and with Lindsey and Freeman, and what they do is, it's just they're a potent offense. They've evolved a little bit too since the change of quarterback, and they put up 20-some points. I think it was against Cleveland on a good defense, and they put up 20-some against a good defense in Minnesota early in the game. So it'll be a big test for our defense.
I was wrong, not a shot. He just said they've evolved since the change at quarterback. Here on social media, Von Miller on Instagram saying it's amazing what you could accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. Every sack, a product of teamwork. It's a list of the quarterbacks that he sacked, and there's a lot of them on there. We'll see if Josh Allen gets added to that list coming up. Marlon Mack out after hand surgery. Will Jonathan Williams be the guy in his absence? Brian Baldinger breaks it down coming up next, and Deshaun Watson can always look in one direction, and that's